Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Little Craft Room podcast. My name's Nicola. I'm a Little Craft Room, many places on the internet, some of which you will find below. I hope you've had a lovely day so far, and I hope you're ready to talk knitting and crochet, or at least listen to some talk about knitting and crochet. I've got my hot drink ready. Today I'm drinking Whittard of Chelsea hot chocolate, and it's the cookies and cream hot chocolate. But I've added a little bit of vanilla syrup in there as well because it's dark chocolate, so it's a little bitter, and the vanilla just absolutely tops it off. So I'm really glad about that because that was a bit of an experiment. That's really nice. Although I did have a right mare making it because I'm just not concentrating today. Apparently the brain's not doing the things. And as I was making it, I warmed my milk up, put the vanilla in, and then just started spooning instant tea into it instead of hot chocolate. So that was interesting. So yeah, apparently we're not fully with it today. So this stream could be fun. We will see what happens. But yes, I am ready to get started. So today I am wearing, let's see if I can stand up and show it off. So this is the Aran Celtic knot Shrug by Sue Goldthorpe, and I've just realised I'm actually wearing it inside out. So I did say not with it. There we go. That does mean I've been wearing that inside out for a good hour now without noticing. Oh, good grief. This is not a day for brain activity, quite clearly. There we go, it's now the right way around. So the Aran Celtic knot Shrug by Sue Goldthorpe. I wore this on Sunday. I went to StitchFest Southwest on Sunday, which I'm going to talk about in great detail later. But I wore this because it's a vibe festival. You've got to wear something you've made. It's the law. You've got to happen. So I decided to wear this one. I made this right at the start of the year, and when I first posted the picture on Instagram, it went nuts. Everybody really liked it, so I thought, yeah, why not? I'll wear it on Sunday as well. And again, everybody really liked it. I had so many comments. I had so many people asking me kind of what the pattern was, and is it on Ravelry, where can I buy it? I even had one lady who was waiting outside the toilets for me to come out so that she could ask like what the pattern was. So yeah, I think it went down well. Although I did realise I'd been calling it a shawl rather than a shrug, but I mean if you Google Aran Celtic knot shawl, I'm pretty sure it would probably come up with this anyway. But yeah, it went down so well, and I'm really happy because it is such a lovely pattern, but it was surprisingly easy to make as well. It's knit in Sublime Yarns Willow in the colour Hazel. That's the way around it was. And it's a lovely yarn. It's so squishy. It's just got my notes here. It's 94% merino and 6% nylon / polyamide. And it's just so squishy. It's got so much kind of sponge to it, which is just really nice. It does, I don't think that's coming through on my camera, but it does have a slight kind of tweedy look to it. So there are just a couple of different colours speckled throughout the yarn, which for the most part I like. You've kind of got some muted browns in there, there's some black bits, some kind of blues, some dark greens that all work really well. And then occasionally you'll just have like a teeny little flash of fluorescent pink, which personally, that is the only thing I can fault about this yarn, is the pink elements. I don't have a problem with pink, but because it's fluorescent and because the rest of the colours are a little bit more kind of toned down, they kind of work with the kind of the naturally earthy tones, and then you just got bright pink, it just looks like I've got fluff on it. And I can't, like, every time I've worn this, I do kind of think, oh, there's a bit of fluff, and then I remember that's actually part of the yarn. And it happened at the weekend as well. My mum kind of went, oh, you've got fluff on you, and I was like, no, it's part of the yarn. So I think that's the only thing, like, and I'm being really picky there. But I think that is the only thing that I'm kind of not as much of a fan of for this yarn. Everything else, I really love it. It's just the pink, I find it a little jarring. So I did consider when I was making it whether to just pick all the pink bits out, and then I looked at it and was like, I haven't got the time for that. I've got better things to do. So I decided against it in the end. But it's such a nice shawl. So it, like I said, it's Sublime Yarns Willow. It is a blown yarn. Sorry, I've just kicked the table. It's a blown yarn, which is my favourite type. I absolutely adore working with blown yarns. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why it's so lovely and squishy, because obviously you've got slightly more spaces in between the fibres. It was quite a simple pattern. Like I said, it's not a particularly difficult one. I got it for Christmas, but it was bought at the Creative Craft Show Exeter in, I think it was October 2021. My mum and I went and saw the shawls, and it came as like a pack with the yarn and the pattern. So it was bought as a Christmas present. And I think I started it in between Christmas and New Year as well, because I was like, yeah, I wanna get this done. But it worked up really quickly. I think it only took me a week or two to do. It is mostly moss stitch, except for this knot bit, this kind of woven part, and that is in stocking stitch. But the rest you can kind of see the texture, the textured part, that is in moss stitch, which I think is why it's so squishy, because moss stitch tends to be lovely and squishy. So that is really nice. But what I will say is a lot of people have asked me, both on Instagram and when I've worn this woven part, that is knitted closed. So if you do make this, I'll stand up and show you properly. So yeah, that is knitted closed. You make, it's kind of like a rectangle. I'm not going to go into too much details because obviously it is a paid pattern. But it is knitted as a rectangle, and then in the knitting process you weave this in and then knit it closed. So that doesn't come undone. It is one that you just have to kind of pop over your head to get on and off. But I don't find that too much of a problem. I did make it slightly longer than the pattern said, just because I wanted, like, I quite like the way it's sat on my shoulders right now. I really like, kind of not right on the shoulder, I'm liking it just a little off, but it's tight enough that it doesn't fall off completely. So I kind of did I was trying it on a little bit as I was doing it, just to make sure I was totally happy with it before I started the weave. So yeah, I did deviate slightly, but I still didn't use any more yarn because it came as a yarn pack, so I didn't have extra to tack on to the end if I decided to make it really long. So I was within some limits, but it said carry on until it's this long, I can't remember how long, and I went, no, I'm going to keep going. So but even now I can just feel it's so lovely, it's so squishy, lovely. But what I will say, and I've been meaning to talk about this for a while actually, when I make things, generally the way it tends to happen is I'll be knitting or crocheting something, and Sam is quite a gamer, and one of the ways that we spend our time is he'll play games and I'll watch while I'm doing my crafting. Either, you know, we're both sat downstairs or we're sat in different rooms in the same house and he'll stream it over Discord and I'll watch it. But the way he kind of does his game playing is he'll kind of get really, really into one game for kind of a period of time, and he'll play that a lot, and then at some point he'll move on to a different game and then play that for a period of time. So it does mean when I'm making some projects, I'm watching one game, usually day after day after day, which I love. I don't mind it at all. I really like it. But I end up with a really powerful association with the projects I make and the games that I watched while I was making them. So for me, this Shrug pattern is RimWorld. So if any of you know RimWorld, I really like watching it. It's so funny. And that was the game he was kind of really, really into when I was making this. So if I think of RimWorld, quite often I think of this this particular Shrug, although he's playing it again. Oh, hello, you're right. Yeah, if he's playing RimWorld again, and I'm probably going to associate it with the project I'm currently on as well. But yeah, I just end up with these really powerful associations between a game and the project I was making at the time. So I've started adding it to my Ravelry notes actually as I'm making a project. I've been saying what the game is that I've been watching most of the time when I do a project. So yeah, for me the Shrug is RimWorld. And it really reminds me of that period last year in between Christmas and New Year, where you're just kind of like carrying all the treats upstairs, so like surrounded by all the goodies and the chocolates that I got for Christmas, and kind of really cold outside, and making this. So it's a really powerful kind of thing in my mind. So that's what I always think of when I think of this particular Shrug. I'm going to try and kind of include that as well if I talk about like a featured pattern in the podcast. I'm gonna try and talk about the game association, just because I do like gaming as well. I just don't quite have as much time for it as I like, because I have so many other hobbies, which is good, but I do want to do some gaming. I've been desperate to get back into Skyrim recently, because I don't know why, I'm just feeling the vibe and I just don't have the time. But anyway, I digress. So yes, this is the Aran Celtic Knot Shrug by Sue Goldthorpe. I believe it's also under the Wool Shop Leeds. I think it's an association thing. I don't know whether she works there. But the pack was from the Wool Shop Leeds. So I think there is kind of an overlap there. And it's knitted, like I said, in Sublime Yarns Willow in the colour Hazel. So that's my kind of what I'm wearing for this week. As promised, I have also, I did say last week I was going to show the Single Malt sweater. So Single Malt sweater, no, that didn't work. There we go. Single Malt sweater. I have been making this for my dad for either his birthday or Christmas. Can't remember which. And last week it was blocking, but now it is finished. And I have the Single Malt sweater. It's all nicely folded. I almost don't want to unfold it. I was taking the Instagram pictures the other day. So it's really pretty and folded, but I am going to unfold it. So it finished blocking. It blocked beautifully, exactly as I thought it would. And it's just so nice. There was quite a bit of growth with blocking. The body I wasn't not as bothered about growing, because that was long enough that I would have been happy with it, but the sleeves definitely needed growing, and they did, thankfully. So here is the full sweater. So it has blocked very nicely and it is just lovely. So the yarn that I've used, I'm going to do like the kind of full thing. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, but not in great detail. So I'm going to go all the way through. So I have been using West Yorkshire Spinners yarn in the Croft Shetland colours, Aran weight. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? I do have the yarn label somewhere. Here we go, yeah. So West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Shetland colours, and it's Aran in the colour Seafield. So this is a 100% Shetland wool yarn. So totally UK based yarn, which I'm always down for. And it's so nice. I can already tell this is going to be warm. This is going to be really warm. I have tried it on once or twice. It doesn't quite fit. It fit better before I blocked it. But my dad, I'm not that big. My dad's taller than me, and so it's probably going to be a little long for me now. But I did put it on my mannequin. I did like a before and after blocking, just to kind of prove it. And it really annoys me every time because blocking is such a pain, but it really works. And I kind of almost wish it didn't work so well, because that would justify not doing it. But I can't, because it does work. So this is one of the wars I have to live with. But yeah, there we go. It is, I don't know the name of this stitch pattern, I'll be honest. It probably does have a name, but I don't exactly know what it is. Probably like broken moss or something. I may well have just made that up. But you do a row of knit one, purl one, then a row of straight knitting, then a row of purl one, knit one, so it alternates with the first row, and then another row of straight knitting, and you just kind of repeat that stitch pattern. And I love the texture it's come out with. I don't know how well it's coming across on camera. It's coming through a little bit, but it's making a really, really nice, interesting texture. So it is kind of like moss, but it's like staggered, like stretched out a little bit. So you've got other rows in between the normal knit one, purl one kind of alternation. I also really like the raglan detail on this. So it kind of, there you go, you can see it comes down and it goes under the arm, but it also continues down the arm. I'm not going to be able to show this because it's folded along, but there you go. So it continues actually down the arm to the wrist, which I did quite like, because nothing would have stopped the designer from just kind of looping it under. Oh, who is the designer actually? I've completely forgotten who the designer is. That's terrible. I'm gonna have to look that up. Where is it? The Single Malt sweater. Yeah, they didn't have to do that, but I just thought that was a really, really nice detail. Maxim, surname is CYR. I'm possibly gonna pronounce that wrong. Maxim Sear, or Knitwear by Maxim. He's Max the Knitter on Instagram, either way. Apologies for not being sure how to pronounce that surname, but yeah, no, he didn't have to kind of do the sleeve detail, but I quite liked that, because like I said, he could have easily just looped that under the arm and had done with, but there's something quite nice about the fact that it goes all the way down. The arm shaping as well is just lovely, so it's, you know, you can see it from the underarm there. If I pick my hair off it, you can really see that just gradual slope down to the kind of the lower arm, and it's just done really subtly but really well, so that it's a lovely fit. It's a really lovely fit when that goes on the arm. So I'm really excited to have my dad try this on for final time, just to check. I'm tempted to make him wait until it gets gifted, but there's part of me that's like, I just want to check. So yeah, I mentioned it in a couple of videos. The bind off I used is one I found on YouTube. So I did it for the hem as well as the cuffs, because it is a 2x1 rib on the hem and the cuffs, and I just couldn't find a really stretchy bind off that I was totally happy with, because I've done it before where I've bound off too tightly and that hem has just been a nightmare. But this is super stretchy, and it was a tutorial I found on YouTube by, I think it was Very Pink Knits on YouTube, and I think it was just called Very Stretchy Bind Off. And I was skeptical at first, but I was totally on board. Actually, I am now thoroughly converted to this bind off. It does kind of flare outwards a little bit on when the item is not being worn, so you can kind of see there it's flaring slightly, but when it's on, you know, the second you stretch it a teeny tiny bit, it's just kind of lovely and straight. I suppose you could even go down a needle size. Imagine that, going down a needle size to cast off. If you really were that bothered about the flaring, you could probably go down a needle size, but like I said, when it's actually on, it doesn't, because you're stretching it enough that it holds straight. So it's all good, and yes, I'm very excited to have finally finished this. I started it in, I think it was July, and I'm finished a month before I needed to, which I think is very good of me. I think that's very good of me indeed. So I'm going to refold that all pretty later. But yes, the Single Malt sweater by Max the Knitter on Instagram. Oh, there we go. I am actually tempted to make myself one as well. When I tried it on, I was kind of like, ooh, this is nice. So there is a chance I may decide to make myself one as well, but not yet. I've got so many things to do at the moment. I just do not have the time. So it may happen someday. So there we go. So that's finished objects for this week. In terms of whips, obviously I have my kind of secret whips that I'm not showing, but I have mentioned before my granny square project that I'm doing at school. So my knitting and crochet club are sewing together some granny squares. We are going to be making blankets for the animal shelters near us, but because we're low on numbers, I've been asking for donations for granny squares. So if anybody is interested in donating, I will love you forever, and that's the address to send them to. But I have had some through, and it's been lovely. I appreciate it so much. So I have had some granny squares through. I've had quite a lot of granny squares through actually, and they have started putting them together. I will show you the progress they've made. Didn't mean to bring it home. I packed the bag and realised I'd brought it home with me. So I've had some lovely granny squares through, and they have started to sew them together, which is very exciting. Although apparently weaving in ends, maybe that's next week's task. But I'm very excited. I've even had the wonderful Dawn at Dawngill Designs even had a lovely pattern that she included on there, so I was very grateful for that. So yes, I've had some beautiful squares sent through, and I'm very excited to see them made into the blanket. So yeah, very grateful to everybody that's donated granny squares, but definitely still taking more. So if anybody is interested in donating any granny squares, or if you like to make granny squares but aren't all that fussed about sewing them into anything, I will happily take them off your hands. The only requirements that I'm asking are 4 inches square, and probably acrylic yarn, just so that they've not got any sensitivities with the dogs, or no allergies. It's easy to wash, low maintenance. That's it. Not fussed about colour or anything, but if anybody is willing to donate, I would absolutely adore to receive your granny squares. So I'm going to leave that up for the rest of the podcast. The rest of this podcast is just going to be talking about StitchFest, because I was there on Sunday, pretty much spent the whole day there, and it was so good. Oh, I love StitchFest so much. My friends did laugh at me a little bit when they said, where are you this weekend? And I was like, I'm at a knitting festival. And they were like, of course you are. Of course you are. But I don't care. It was amazing. So I went with my mum and one of my mum's friends. And I said we were there pretty much the whole day. I have a lot of acquisitions to talk through, because I am only human, and I was in a knitting festival, so of course I have acquisitions to talk about. But the one thing I'm going to talk about first was I did one of the workshops, which I was so excited about. So I did the acid dyeing workshop with Hannah from Waku Yarns, and it was really interesting. So we had, I think it's 75% merino, 25% nylon yarn, so really good sock, kind of sock yarn. And she was talking us all through the acid dye process, what dyes they use, how you would go about making various different kind of colorways. So if you wanted like a solid color, or if you wanted like a little bit of variegation. We didn't do any speckling, which I was a little disappointed about. I was really looking forward to doing some speckling, but apparently the dye that does speckles is carcinogenic, so I'm all right actually. So normally when she does it, it's like proper like full-on mask deal. She does it outside if she can, and this weekend it was torrential, so doing it outside wasn't really an option. So I can understand that. But I did get to do some yarn dyeing. She had like loads of colours that we could do, and even up to the moment where I was stood there, I've been trying to decide what colour to do it. I was kind of flip-flopping all the week before because I just couldn't decide what colour I wanted to do. And it, like I said, even stood in front of the tray looking at the dyes going, what am I going to do? But I did decide in the end. I decided to go for a plum and grey, but I wanted to leave some white in. And I have my very first skein of dyed yarn, and I'm so excited because look at that. I am so happy with that. I think it looks awesome. And I mean, maybe I'm biased because it's, you know, I've made it. But I'm so chuffed with that. I was really worried that, not being an experienced yarn dyer, it was going to come out looking awful. And I was really terrified that I was going to make it and be so disappointed with how it looked. Because I'm always watching those dyeing videos on like TikTok and Instagram and things like that, and watching all these beautiful coloured skeins of yarns come out. And I was like, I want mine to look like that, and I'm really worried it won't. But I am so happy with that. So like I said, the main colour I've gone for like plum, but you can see some kind of grey. It's kind of like a steel grey in there. And then I've made sure, like I said, I've made sure to leave the white, because I did want there to be some, just some kind of speckles of white in there. Like I said, I did want to do some speckling as well. I probably would have, if I could, I would probably have gone for some dark grey, like really dark grey speckles as well. But I'm so excited. I'm absolutely made up with this. Like I said, I haven't decided quite, well, I have kind of decided what I'm doing with it. My original plan was, because it is a nylon, well, mostly merino, but then with a little bit of nylon in it, my first thought was, yeah, socks, you know, because that'll make a really decent pair of socks. It'll be perfect. But then, and I absolutely blame Dawn from Dawn Gill Designs, because I was showing her at the festival and I was like, look at this. And I said, oh, no, I'm going to make socks with it. And she went, oh yeah, but you know, with socks, there's always the risk that they're going to wear through. And she said, that's your very first dyed skein of yarn. And you want to make sure that lasts. You don't want to make socks that are going to wear through on the heels or something. And I was like, oh, you're right. I know you're right. Because if I did make socks with that and they wore through, I'd be devastated, because I'd feel like I'd just lost it then, and that would be it forever. So she said, oh, you know what would work really, really well with that? She said, oh, if you go to Cozy Kitchen Fibres and get one of their Suri silk yarns, combine that, it'll make a beautiful shawl. I was like, stop it. So I also have some Suri silk from Cozy Kitchen Fibres. Like I said, I totally blame Dawn. It's absolutely her fault. So there we go. So this is the Suri Silk Haze by Cozy Kitchen Fibres, and I got it in a nude colour. So this is an undyed, an undyed fibre, and she's right, it would look so nice with that. I deliberately went for a nude because I didn't want anything to hide my pretty colours. But I thought as well it would just kind of let them fade into each other a little more. What with look at the haze on that. That is going to make the coziest shawl. But yeah, I thought that would just help the colours blend together a bit more without interfering too much. So yeah, haven't decided exactly what shawl I'm going to make with it, or whether I design another shawl. I've designed a shawl in the past, so maybe I do a second. I don't know. But I think that is going to be the plan. So this is 75% baby Suri alpaca and 25%, I can't tell, the label stuck over itself, 25% silk. The Suri silk should have really given me the clue for that, shouldn't it? So yeah, it is a lace weight yarn, so it won't really add too much to this. This is a fingering, so it'll probably turn it into either a sport or a light DK. So probably going to end up with a shawl of that, but I'm not sure what it'll end up like. But I'm so happy with this. I really am. I'm very proud of this. I was so excited about this acid dyeing. Whether I take it up myself, I don't know. I don't know whether I can afford to take on any more hobbies. I've barely got time for the ones I currently have. But it's nice to know that it's an option. So yeah, if anybody is going to any more yarn shows anywhere in the UK and acid dyeing with Hannah from Waku Yarns is an option, I would so highly recommend, because it was really fun and I ended up with such a pretty skein. Honestly, I'm probably just going to kind of put this on a shelf and just look at it for a while and just kind of like hang it up, frame it. So yeah, this is kind of my main proud acquisition from StitchFest. I just keep holding it. I'm so happy with it. So yeah, I deliberately got this to go with it, and I will be having a think about what that turns into. So I am going to go through the rest of my StitchFest Southwest acquisitions because I'm so happy with them. So a lot of it was planned as well, by the way. I wasn't too badly behaved. I wasn't perfect, but most of what I bought was planned. So I did get myself some more wool wash because I use this Eucalan stuff for basically blocking all my knits, and I'm starting to run out. So I got this monster of a bottle because I do use it quite a lot. So I thought it was worth stocking up. So that was a sensible buy. I also took a visit to the Along of Ekana store. Now, I've been dying to try some Along of Ekana yarns for quite a while, and she was there, so I had to. So I bought some merino and a matching silk mohair to go with it. So obviously those colours are a lovely match. I also, and I'm going to do the same thing with both of them, I'm planning on doing literally the same thing. I also bought it in a different colour. So again, merino and silk mohair, but I got it in this colour. So this one is Grenat and this one is Louvre. So yeah, Grenat and Louvre. And with those two, I have had the Augustine, I think it's number 22. The little bow in my Ravelry queue for ages, and I think these would just make the most gorgeous little Augustine bow. So these are earmarked for that. And again, this was one I intended to buy. I knew full well that I was going with the intention of buying some yarn to make the Augustine bow. Didn't necessarily expect to buy two, but I couldn't choose. And I know that I will wear both these colours because I have a lot of clothes I wear for work that are kind of a nice burgundy colour. And if it doesn't go with burgundy, this kind of really pale grey is probably a winner. So this is going to go with a lot of things. So yes, I have earmarked this for the Augustine number 22 kind of bow. I think it is a hair bow because it specifically mentions a hairband in it. But I mean, I suppose if you wanted to just knit a bow and add it to a garment or something, I don't think anything would stop you doing that. But I fully intend to wear it in my hair. So those are my Along avec Anna purchases. And the colours that she had were just beautiful. Honestly, I thought it was rather restrained of me to only come away with two. So depending on when I get time, that might be like a Christmas project, like in that week between Christmas and New Year, maybe, because I'm hoping that would be a nice quick one. So what else did I get? I also got myself this necklace. So I have a pair of earrings that matches this, and this is Dawn Gill Designs, who I mentioned earlier. She does jewellery and tension rings for crochet, and last year I bought myself a pair of knitting needle earrings. I adore them. They're just absolutely, they're so cute. And when I turned up to StitchFest, I was like, look, yeah, I've got my earrings in. And she went, oh, I've got necklaces now, matching necklaces. I was like, hand it over. So I bought myself a necklace as well. And just look, it's a little teeny tiny knitting set with a little ball and the needles through it. So I now have the full matching set. I haven't worn this yet. I've been restraining myself, but I will absolutely be wearing it this weekend, because I am doing a knitting workshop. I'm teaching a beginner's knitting class, so I think I'm going to have to wear it for that. So I'll have the full set now, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, so that is Dawn Gill Designs. And I love the fact that it's a little knitting necklace. I think it's so cute. And she even packed it in a Christmas box as well. So I love that so much. So that wasn't a planned buy, but I had to. I absolutely had to. So really, really chuffed with my teeny little knitting necklace. So this next one was definitely an intended one. Because we have been doing up our bedroom recently, kind of sprucing it up a little bit, and we've done like a kind of a feature wall, and we've done it a dark blue colour. And I thought, oh yeah, you know, I could absolutely make some cushions for the bed, because, you know, let it all match, all nice and pretty. And I was like, yeah, I'll make some new cushion covers to go on some cushions for the bed. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could get it to match the wall? So I was carrying that around StitchFest, which that is literally the paint we used on the wall. I got the sample pot and painted it on just a piece of cardboard that we had in the kitchen. So I was walking all around StitchFest going, just kind of colour matching it to loads of yarns. I must have looked like a right weirdo. But that was one of my goals, was to find a yarn that matched my wall so that I could make these matching cushions. And I decided that I wasn't just going to go with a solid colour. I was going to buy some kind of contrast colours as well. I haven't decided what I'm going to make. I think I'm probably going to make up a pattern. Invent one, maybe. Yeah. So I haven't actually designed it yet. But I do have some ideas in mind. But what I was really chuffed about was, obviously I was carrying that round, fully intending to get some blue yarn, and I got that. Now I'm not sure how well that colour's coming through. I mean, I will take applause now. But that, I was so chuffed with the colour match on that. So I found this is a Blacker Yarns wool. This is called Folklore. It is a DK weight, and it is 100% British wool. So I felt really good about buying it. And it matches my bedroom wall. And what more could you possibly want from your yarn to match your bedroom wall? So I'm really excited about this. This colour is called Midsummer's Night. It's not what the paint's called, but yeah, so I said I haven't decided what I'm actually going to make, whether it's going to be a knit, whether it's going to be a crochet. I don't know. But I've got some thoughts, some ideas brewing. But it will turn into a cushion cover for the bedroom. But like I said, I didn't want to just go solid blue. I wanted a little bit of interest, a little bit of contrast to it. So I also, and the yarn label is falling off this one. Same shop, so Blacker Yarns. This is a DK. This is Falkland Islands Merino. in the colour Undyed, also known as Dusty Miller. So this is kind of like it's not white, it's more like an off-white. So it's obviously because it's undyed. It's kind of like a creamy colour. And I also got, oh, I lost it. Where's it gone? This was the bag I carried everything round in. Where's my other one gone? Oh, there it is. Okay. So again, Blacker yarns. So this is the same one as this. This is the DK Falkland Islands Merino, but this one is in the colour Shetland. Nope. Cinnamon grass. This is Merino with Shetland. Oh, okay, so maybe they're different. That just says Merino. But that's Merino with Shetland. Oh. Maybe they're slightly different compositions. But yeah, so this is the colour Cinnamon Grass. What I did notice though, when I got them home, was that these colours are the same I used for Morwenna, so my hot water bottle pattern, which I'm not opposed to. I like Morwenna, you know, that I did it for a reason. So my Morwenna hot water bottle cover pattern was the first one I ever wrote up, and I loved the colours, the kind of the creamy white, the brown, the blue, and I just happened to have gone for the same kind of colour palette. But it does tie our bedroom together because the feature wall's blue, the rest of the walls are white, and then we've got wooden furniture. So I thought in my mind, you know, perfect, it'll all match. But I have inadvertently kind of gone with Morwenna as well. It does mean that my hot water bottle will now match my bedroom. But I don't know, there's something about these colours that I just find really cosy and really comforting. So I'm going to have to try not to do it too often. I don't want to become predictable or anything like that. So yeah, like I said, I haven't decided how this cushion cover is going to look, but yeah, I think I haven't even decided whether I'm knitting or crocheting. That's probably the decision I need to make first, is whether it's going to be a knit or a crochet. I'm probably going to line it because I quite like to buy cushions that are too small for the cover, so that they really they're nice and poofy. And with it being a knit or a crochet, especially if it's a knit, I don't want it to stretch the fibres thin so you can see the cushion underneath. So I will likely line it so that you still get the poofy effect. Yeah, so all three of these from Blacker Yarns. I've never used anything from Blacker Yarns before, so I am intrigued to see how this works up. Yeah. In fact, I hadn't actually come across them either, so I'm going to have to go and give them a follow. Have a look at what else they do. But I just couldn't believe how close that was to my wall. So I was pretty impressed with that. And when I came home, obviously Sam knew I'd taken this with the intention, and I was like, look at that, and he was like, yeah, that's you, well done, you've done a good job there. So I passed. My colour matching skills are on point, I think. So cushion cover, so again, that was a fully intentional one. Absolutely intended to buy that. This next one was a bit more of an impulse, I'll admit, but I even walked away originally and then went back an hour later because I just absolutely went for this. And I think what was a bit strange is that it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't even a really bright colour. It wasn't particularly stand out for any reason. It's just beautiful. So I went to the Camel's Yarn, the store that they had there, and I bought this. I've got 4 skeins of it, if I can get them out of my bag, and it is just beautiful. And it's such a shame because the colours aren't quite coming through on camera, but it's like a beige, but it just has a hint of pink in it. It's kind of almost like a minky colour, and it caught my eye, and I just couldn't let it go out of my head. So like I said, this is from the Camel's yarn, which is a Cornish dyeing company. This is 100% merino. It's superwash, but I just fell in love straight away. I was tempted to buy the fingering weight, decided to go for the DK, but I don't know what it was about just this colour. Like I said, it's just got the hint of pink to it that just has such a warmth, and I don't even know what I'm going to make with it. And I do not normally buy yarn that way. I normally will go with a project in mind. I'll have it on my phone. I'll have the weight, the yardage, the fibre sometimes for the recommended yarn, and I will specifically hunt for a yarn with a pattern in mind. So this is a bit of a step away from the norm for me, but I couldn't leave it. I knew I had to make something with it. And I don't know what. It's probably going to be some kind of sweater. I don't think it's going to be an overly complicated sweater. I think it's going to be a fairly relaxed one. I don't think I'm going to want any cables. I was having a look on Ravelry just before I started this podcast. I'm going to put my winner away, actually. I was having a look before I started the podcast, and I was kind of looking at the No Frills sweater by Petite Knit, as well as the Stockholm sweater, and I was just trying to find trying to see if something kind of stood out and just jumped out at me and went, yes, this is the sweater pattern for blah. This is the pattern for that yarn. I wasn't able to buy 4. They only had 4 in this dye lot. I don't know whether they had more like kind of in their storage, but there were only 4 out. So it does mean I only have 900 meters. So it can't be too oversized, because a lot of the sweaters I was looking at had like quite a lot of positive ease. So I can't go for one with too much positive ease. I'm tempted to go for a 3/4 sleeve, maybe, so that I can have a little bit more room in the body of it. But I just haven't decided what I'm making with it. And like I said, that's quite rare for me, but I don't know, it called to me. It absolutely called to me. And they just have the most lovely labels as well. Just it's actually kind of like woven fabric for the labels. So the Camel's yarn, hand dyed in Cornwall, and then this is called Dawn Haze, this colour. So it's merino, double knit, and it's 225 meters, 100 gram skein. So Dawn Haze. Like I said, I've got no idea, and I really don't normally do it this way around, so this is new territory for me. I mean, I'm sure I'll find something, you know, let's not panic. But it's just so lovely, and it's got such a yarny smell. That was the one thing about StitchFest, is that it just smelled beautifully of wool. So yes, those are my StitchFest acquisitions. I thought I was well behaved. I didn't spend as much as I could have. I wanted everything. But I kept myself in check. Probably partly down to that workshop. If I'd had another hour to wander around, who knows what would have happened. But it was really lovely just being there. I always love going to festivals because, like I said, I wore this. A lot of people tend to wear stuff they've made, so you kind of spot particular patterns as you're walking around. There were quite a few Avena sweaters by Jennifer Steingass. I saw a lot of those. That one's in my queue as well. I saw a Chunky Dahlia by Lene Holm Samso. I spotted that one. I also spotted a I called it the wrong one. It's one of Lily Kate Makes. It's the Livingston vest. That's the one. I spotted a Lily Kate Makes Livingston vest. I think I've got that one in my queue as well. and it was really cool seeing all these patterns that I recognise and being like, oh yeah, that's that pattern, oh yeah, that's that pattern, and I was kind of pointing them out to my mum as we were going around. I was like, you see that pattern? Yeah, you see that. And with the chunky dahlia, I have made that one. That one's in my kind of my box over there. I'll be breaking that out soon this year. But I did point that one out. I was like, Mum, see that sweater? I've made that. She was like, oh yeah, no, I recognise it actually. I was like, yeah. So yeah, it was really nice seeing everybody in all the garments they'd made. I do technically have something else as well from StitchFest, but that is reserved for a Christmas present. So my mum did get me that, so I've got to wait till Christmas for that. And it was, I can't remember what the name of I cannot for the life of me remember what the stall was. It's because I've not got it in front of me, that's why. But it was a hand warmer pattern. I chose the green colourway. Oh, my mind's gone completely blank. I can't remember what the yarn was either. It was a very nice hand warmer with a slight cable detail. They had quite a few colours. They had a grey, a purple, like a light blue, a green. That one might just have to be a surprise for Christmas because I've forgotten quite a few of the details about it. But yeah, but there was just some lovely stuff. I was very tempted to kind of have a look at the spinning as well, but again, like I said earlier, I've got enough hobbies that I don't have time for, so I don't think, and plus I've got nowhere to put any spinning equipment. I don't know where I would put it if I had it. Maybe that's another workshop to try if they have one. Although to be honest, if they do yarn dyeing again, I'd be tempted to go for that one again. Although when I got to the car, I had to laugh. My mum was waiting in the car, and I had a big Tupperware with it because the yarn's still wet when you leave. So I got to the car and I had my box, and I was like, oh yeah, here's my yarn, Mum, look. And I opened the box, and because it's still wet, just this smell of hot, wet wool just filled the car. And my mum's like, oh, close the box. So we did have to roll down the windows a little bit, get the smell out, because as much as I love a woolly smell, not a wet wool smell. It's got a particular smell when it's wet. It's not the one. So I have had it laid out on my I've actually draped it over my yarn swift since Sunday to get it properly dry, yeah, thankfully it has, but drying yarn in winter is such a pain. But yeah, I had to air it out because of that boiled wet wool smell. But yeah, so those are my StitchFest acquisitions. I had so much fun. I'm honestly a little bit gutted that it doesn't come around more often. Probably a good job though, because I can't afford to be doing that very often at all. I really can't. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens out of it. I'm looking forward to seeing my Augustin bows, the cushion cover that, who knows what that's going to do. Potential shawl with my own dyed skein, and then mystery sweater with my camel's yarn, my beautiful merino from the camel's yarn. So yeah, I have managed to spend half this podcast just talking about StitchFest, but I kind of expected that. So I'm really excited for this weekend. Like I said, I'm doing a beginner's knitting workshop at Truro Fabrics, so I'll have to wear my new necklace. Probably also have to pick something else handmade to wear because, you know, gotta show the possibilities of knitting. So I'm really looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting some more people into knitting. Always recruiting new crafters. So yeah, that's my plans for this weekend. Anyway, I'm probably going to call it there because I'm going to catch up on last night's Bake Off. So if you have kind of stayed for the whole hour, then thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening. I will see you next week. Still accepting Granny Square donations, so anybody interested in sending them, I would be delighted to receive them. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.